guys. And we are also going to be streaming on the YouTube too. So if you guys want to be able to watch all the journey of the books, will be on YouTube. Don't forget. Nobody forgets it will be on YouTube, guys. So yeah, we are going. There we go. There we go. Everything's good, guys. We're back. So give me 1 secondito. There we are, every pony. Okay, everyone. First off, I just want to say hello. I hope everyone has a great day today. And I also hope that everyone has a spectacular week. One bad day does not equal fucking. Oh, one day does not equal like hell, guys. And yep. Also, we are going to be streaming the FNAF VR soon. I texted my aunt for the password, but I have to wait for the everything to come. And ja. And then once everything comes, I can finally yo, GP Slayers. Once everything comes, it'd be way better to stream. And everything will be good. Okay, guys, we're gonna start the read right now. Just give me 1 secondito. For a post and stuff real quick. I don't know why everything didn't post. I've been having like a little... I'm low-key the king of California. Germany is going to be ready for the king of California. I am the freaking king. Or I should say I'm the king of the 626. I own you 626. I'm the valley. The valley is mine and it will always be mine. Shiny Ponytail is coming to Pokemon Go. This is beautiful, man. Pokemon Go is probably the most beautiful invention to ever meet people. I've met so many people on Pokemon Go, and it's Paige is at work, silly goo. Oh no, she's not at work. She's getting her lashes filled in. I heard you're in California, Abby. Paige is getting you a cart, and I'm paying for your cart. You're welcome, bud. You're welcome. I make variety gaming content, yet a post of mobile gaming vid has more views than me playing. Bro, I've never seen you play a game, GP Slays. I literally think I follow you and I've never seen you post a single game. Do you have another account? I mean, bro, really? I had no idea. Yeah, because me and Paige are both broke, but Pacific came, so I got you, bud. Yeah, I freaking got you. Dance Dance Revolution is so good. I love DDR. I had a summer in 8th grade where I would literally risk getting a heat stroke by playing Dance Dance Revolution in my garage on the Xbox 360 pad, and I was insane. That's all I'm gonna say. Alex Surprise, thank you though. You're the go. Will you be hanging out with us? Possibly. I don't know if I have work on. Are you guys hanging out with Friday? Because I know that you're all the way in the BFE in Irvine. So right, you'll be in Irvine. Yeah, but I'll be there for sure on Giggling Gosh. Or I'll try. Okay, guys. Bro, that you have to literally be in like the city where public transportation is hell. Like, bro, you could have went like one city over, go to some LA. Like, bro, we could have had a way better meetup. But you're like in the place where there's no damn trains. Bro, like it's 2 hours public transport. But I had nowhere to stay for, God forbid. Bro, on God, Airbnb, you could have got a place for like $60 a night. But who wants to do that though? I honestly get why you stay with your aunt. You having fun out here, Abby? Dude, I hope you're living it up in Cali. Swear to God, you're not checking Airbnb, right? Oh, you're flying right now? Oh my gosh. Paige is so excited to see you on Giggling Gosh. Paige has been talking about it so much. Yo, hello, Nisa. How are you doing? Hi, guys. Hi, I said hello, Nisa. I know you're here. Hello. Dude, I'm so excited. I miss my wife. Bruh. Yeah, Paige is excited as giggling toots. Yo, what's up, Marvel fan? Okay, guys, hold up. So we're gonna low-key start the read. Hi, I said hi. Hello. Bruh, am I muted? Am I muted? Am I muted? I don't think I'm muted. I'm in a train. Dude, that's beautiful. The train is awesome. I love the train. Bro, for me to the LA is like super freaking fast. I can take 2 trains to LA because of where I live. Alright, guys, so I have to get started because this is written some 20 pages, and I low-key got 12 minutes before my clothes are done drying. So sit back and we're gonna leave. Wait a minute, I don't know what this is. I think this is 80. I'm checking real quick. I don't know in Roman numerals, so XC. Anyone? Any Roman numeral people? XC Roman numerals. 90. So we went from 70 to 90, but I have the other books so that I'm able to catch up and understand everything. I got my pencil. Let me drink a sip of my coffee. Caffeine. I caffeine max in the morning so that I can eat at 12. Sometimes I don't eat until 5, but I am just a goat. Ready? Every pony ready. Every pony ready. Gotta have some of the nicotine. Alles gut, mein Freund. Everybody ready? Ready. 3, 2. How do you like coffee? I like it black. I don't like adding sweetener. Sweetener is like not my stuff. I get like really, I don't know. I used to put milk in it with no sugar, and then the sugar was the thing, but I don't really like sugar in my milk because I'm just like that. I don't know. I can drink it black. I've always drinking it black because also when I was a kid, we couldn't have milk or any type of sweetener at the house. So my stepbrother used to just drink black coffee because he had really bad ADHD. Like I'm talking like super, super bad. Alright guys, letter 90. Who can doubt, my dear Lucilius, that life is the gift of the immortal gods, but that living well is the gift of philosophy? Hold up, that's an argument. A corollary of this would be the certain conclusion that our debt to philosophy is greater than the debt we owe to the gods. Ooh. I'll hit that. By just so much as a good life is more of a blessing than simply life. Had it not been for the fact that philosophy itself was something bestowed by the gods, they have given no one. Oh, where are my glasses that I can't read? There. That's why I'm freaking having trouble reading. Is that Savannah? Is that my sister? Sevana? I know you're in the next room over. Hello, Savannah. Wait a minute. Had it not been for the fact that philosophy itself was something bestowed by the gods, they have given no one the present of a knowledge of philosophy, but everyone the means of acquiring it. Or if they had made philosophy a blessing given to all and sundry, if we were born in a state of moral enlightenment, wisdom would have been deprived of the best thing about her, that she isn't one of the things which fortune either gives us or doesn't. As things are, there is about wisdom a nobility and magnificence in the fact that she doesn't just fall to a person's lot, that each man owes her to his own efforts, that one doesn't go to anyone other than oneself to find her. What would you have worth looking up to in philosophy if she were handed out free? Philosophy has the single task of discovering the truth about the divine and human worlds. The religious consensus, the sense of duty, justice, and all the rest of the. We love philosophy over here. Yeah, these are fire, right? Savannah has a bunch of ears. She got like a ear stand that's coming on our Amazon account. Also, Savannah, can you like refund the little statue I got because I didn't get it in the mail? Please, can you refund it for me? Thank you, because I spent like some $18 for this figure just for it to not come per page. Thank you. Close-knit, interdependent company of virtues never leaves her side. Philosophy has taught men to worship what is divine, to love what is human, telling us that with the gods belongs authority, and among human beings fellowship. The fellowship lasted for a long time intact before men's greed broke society up. and impoverished, impoverished, and impoverished even those she had brought most riches. For people cease to possess everything as soon as they want everything for themselves. The first men on this earth, however, and their immediate descendants follow nature's unspoiled. They took a single person as their leader and their law, really submitting to the decisions of an individual of superior merit. It is nature's way to subordinate the worse to the better. With the dumb animals, indeed, the ones who dominate the group are either the biggest or the fiercest. The bull who leads the herd is not the weakling, but the one whose bulk and brawn has brought its victory over the other males. That's a bar. Dude, my chair is some buns, bruh. My chair is buns as hell. Or like, look at this. I've had this chair for so long that I've had, I think 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I've had this chair for 6 years. Hello, Scarlet fan. Honestly, I'm so sorry that you guys watched during Marvel Rivals. Like a Marvel Rivals How to Be Poop. I would play it, but my game doesn't even my computer doesn't even let me start it up. Even though I've switched settings, deleted it like 3 times. I downloaded it yesterday, put it on. Nope. In a herd of elephants, the tallest is the leader. Among human beings, the highest merit means the highest position. So they used to choose their rulers for his character. Hence, people were supremely fortunate when among them a man could never be more powerful than others unless he was a better man than they were. For there is nothing dangerous in a man's having as much power as he likes, if he takes the view that he has power to do only what it is his duty to do. Wait up, what does that mean? For there is nothing dangerous in a man's having as much power as he likes if he takes the view that he has the power to do only what it is his duty to do. In the age, then, which people commonly refer to as the Golden Age, government, so Poseidonus maintains, was in the hands of the wise. They kept the peace, protected the weaker from the stronger, urged and dissuaded, pointed out what was advantageous and what was not. Their ability to look ahead ensured that their peoples never went short of anything, whilst their bravery averted dangers. To this devotedness brought well-being and prosperity to their subjects. To govern was to serve, not to rule. Do I play DBD? Yeah, I play DBD. I can play some DBD if you guys want today instead of Dead by Daylight. They kept, wait a minute. Their ability is to look ahead, ensure that their peoples were never short of anything, whilst their bravery averted dangers, and their devotedness brought well-being and prosperity to their subjects. Hey, do you guys want to play DBD with me? To govern was to serve, not to rule. No one used to try out the extent of his power over those to whom he owed that power in the first place, and no one had either reason or inclination to perpetrate injustice, since people governing well were equally well obeyed, and a king could issue no greater threat to disobedient subjects than that of his own abdication. Hanger. Thank you for the roses. 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 My lash tech always late as hell. I'm dead. OMG, what are the strongest and you can beat Jean? Who's Jean? But with the gradual infiltration of the vices and the resultant transformation of kingships into tyrannies, the need arose for laws which were themselves to begin with drafted by the wise. Solon, who established Athens as a democratic state, was only one of the 7 men of antiquity, celebrated for their wisdom. If the same age had produced Lycurgus, an 8th name would have been added to the revered number. The laws of Zaleucus and Charondas are still admired, and it was not in public life, or if the chambers of lawyers, that their 2 men learnt the constitutional principles which they were to establish in Sicily. Then its heyday, and throughout the Greek areas of Italy, but in the secret retreat now hallowed and famous of Pythagoras. I love you, Pythagoras. Oh, I know what you're talking about. Phoenix. That's the redhead, right? That's the goat. I used to play Phoenix. I grinded so much just to get her skins for free. Like I have not bought a Phoenix skin, but I bought Emma Frost. I love Phoenix. She's so cool. I love her hit scan. Thus far I agree with Posidonius, but the philosophy discovered the technique employed in everyday life that I refuse to admit. I will not claim for philosophy, a fame that belongs to technology. It was philosophy, says Posidonius, that taught men how to raise buildings at a time, when they were widely dispersed and their shelter consisted of huts or burrowed out cliffs or hollowed tree trunks. I, for my part, cannot believe that philosophy was responsible for the invention of these modern feats of engineering that rise up story after story, or the cities of today crowding one against the next, any more than of our fish tanks. Those enclosures designed to save men's gluttony from having to run the risk of storms and to ensure extravagance, safe harbors of her own, however wildly the high seas may be raging, in which to fatten separately the different kinds of fish. Are you really going to tell me that philosophy taught the world to use keys and bolts on doors, which was surely nothing but a signal for greed? Was it philosophy that reared the towering buildings we know today, with all the danger they mean to the people living in them? It was not enough, presumably, for man to avail himself of whatever cover came to hand, to have found a shelter of some kind or other in nature without trouble, and without the use of skills. Believe me, the age before there ever existed architects or builders was a happy age. The squaring off of timbers, the accurate cutting of beams with a saw that travels along a marked out line, all these things came in with extravagance. The first of men with wedges split their wood. Yes, for they were not preparing a roof for a future banqueting hall, and pines of firs were not continually being drawn through streets, trembling as at their passage on a long convoy of vehicles to support paneled ceilings heavy with gold. Their huts were held up by a forked pole stood at either end, and with close packed branches at a sloping pile of leaves, a runoff was arranged for every heavy rains. This was the kind of this was the kind of roof under which they lived, and yet their lives were free of care. For men in a state of freedom had thatch for their shelter, while slavery dwells beneath marble and gold. Wow. Another matter on which I disagree with Posidonius is his belief that it was by wise men that tools were originally invented. On the sort of a basis, there is nothing to stop him saying that it was by philosophers that discovered next were ways of snaring game, of catching birds with lime, of setting dogs all around deep woods. It was human ingenuity, not wisdom, which discovered all that. I disagree with him where he maintains that it was a wise man who discovered iron and copper mining. Hold up. We're gonna go put my clothes in the dryer. I mean, yeah, we're gonna go put my clothes in the dryer real quick. Be right back. Bruh, I got this fancy. Okay, I'm back. So basically, my clothes aren't done. So I also put a towel in there. So I gotta look you do a drain and spin after. This is hell. Okay, where'd I stop off at? Whether the earth had been scorched by a forest fire and had melted to produce a flow from surface veins of ore, the person who discovered that sort of thing is the kind of person who makes it his business to be interested in just that sort of thing. Nor, for the matter, do I find it as nice a question as Poseidonus does, whether the hammer started to come into general use before the tongs or the other way around. They were both invented by some individual of an alert, perspective turn of mind, but not one with the qualities of greatness or of inspiration. And the same applies to anything else, the quest of which involves a bent back and an earthwarded gaze. I don't know. I kind of disagree with this because to make stuff easier, right, to even think of a hammer, you have to be like, damn, this is low-key too much work. Oh my god. Right? And the guy's like, wait up, hold up. What if I do something to like hit this? Boom, boom, boom. I mean, philosophy is the act of thinking. So wouldn't someone have thought to use a tool? Doesn't that count as philosophy? I mean, he's using it like, bro, anyone could have thought of this. You just have to be low-key, right place, right time. But I don't know. I feel like making of tools could be considered philosophy, but using them could be not. Like you're just boom, 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 mindlessly using a hammer, mindlessly using a drill, mindlessly using tongs, mindlessly using whatever it is. The guy who invented it definitely was Chad. I mean, even if he made one invention, it's still like, I don't know, he kind of like disregarding being a goat. The wise men then followed a simple way of life, which is hardly surprising when you consider how even in his modern age he seeks to be a little encumbered as he possibly can. How, I ask you, can you consistently admire both Daedalus and Diogenes? Tell me, which of these two you would say was a wise man? The one who hit on the saw, or the one who, on seeing a boy drinking water from the hollow of his hand, immediately took the cup out of his knapsack and smashed it, telling himself off for his stupidity in having superfluous luggage about him all the time, and curled himself up in a jar and went to sleep. And today, just tell me which of the following you consider the wiser man: the one who discovers a means of spraying saffron perfumes to a tremendous height from hidden pipes, who fills or empties channels in one sudden rush of water, who constructs a set of interchangeable ceilings for a dining room in such a way as to produce a constant succession of different patterns, with a change of ceiling at each course, or the one who proves to others and to himself that nature makes no demand on us that is difficult or hard to meet, and that we can live without the marble worker and the engineer, that we can clothe ourselves without importing skills, that we can have the things we need for our ordinary purpose if we will only be content with what the earth has made available on its surface. If they only cared to listen to this man, the human race would realize that cooks are unnecessary, or as unnecessary to them as are soldiers. Boy, be quiet. The race of men to whom taking care of the body was a straightforward enough matter, were, if not philosophers, something very like it, the things that are essential are acquired with little bother. It is the luxuries that call for toil and effort. Follow nature and you will feel no need of craftsmen. If it was nature's desire that we should not be kept occupied thus, she equipped us for everything she required us to contend with. But the naked body can't stand cold, so what? Are the skins of wild beasts and other creatures not capable of giving us more than adequate protection against the cold? Isn't that the equivalent to wearing clothes? It is not a fact that many people make a covering for their bodies out of bark. The feathers are sewn together to serve as clothing. They were today the majority of the Scythians wear the pelts of fox and mice, which are soft to the touch and impervious to wind? Are you going to tell me too that our that any people you care to mention never use their hands to weave a basketwork of wattles smeared all over with common mud and then cover the whole roof with long grass stems and other materials growing wild, and went through winter weather, the rain streaming down the slope of the roof without any worry? But we need some pretty dense shade to keep off the heat of the sun in the summer. So what? Have past ages not left us plenty of hiding places that have been carved out by the ravages of time, or whatever other cause one cares to suppose, and have developed into caves? And again, it is not a fact that Scythian tribes take shelter in pits dug in the ground, as do other people who become at extreme sun temperatures find nothing less than the baked earth itself sufficiently substantial as a protective covering against the heat. When nature granted all the other animals a simple passage through life, she was not so unfair to man as to make it impossible for him alone to live without all these skills. Nature demanded nothing hard from us, and nothing needs painful contriving to enable life to keep going. We were born into a world in which things were ready to our hands. It is we who have made everything difficult to come by, though our own disdain for what is easily come by. Bro, can we stop with the alarms? Bro. Come by. Shelter and apparel are the means of warming body and food, all the things which nowadays entail tremendous trouble. Were there for the taking, free to all, obtainable at trifling effort. With everything, the limit corresponds to the need. It is we, and no one else, who has made those same things costly, spectacular, and obtainable only by means of a large number of full-scale techniques. Nature suffices for all she asks of us. Luxury has turned her back on nature, daily urging herself on the growing, through all the centuries, pressing men's intelligence into the development of the vices. First, she began to hanker after things that were inessential, and then after things that were injurious. And finally, she handed the mind over to the body and commanded it to be the out and our out. Yeah. Hold up. She handed the mind over to the body and commanded it to be the out and out slave of the body's whim and pleasure. All those trades that give rise to noise or hectic activity in the city are in businesses for the body, which was once in the position of the slave, having everything issued to it, and is now the master, having everything procured for it. This is the starting point of textile and engineering workshops, for the purpose used by chefs, the sensual moments of our dancing teachers, even sensual and unmanly songs. And why? Because the bonds of nature, which set a limit to man's wants by relieving them only where there is necessity for such relief, have been lost sight of. To want simply what is enough nowadays suggests to people's primitiveness and squalor. It is incredible, Lucilius, how easily even great men can be carried away from the truth by the sheer pleasures of holding forth on a subject. Look at Poseidonus, in my opinion, one of those who had contributed most to philosophy, when he wants to give a description of how. In the first place, some threads are twisted and others drawn out from the soft, loose hank of wool. Then how the warp has its threads stretched perpendicularly by means of hanging weights, and how the weft worked and sewed the hand. Hold up. I think now I can actually go Okay, I think now I can actually go put my clothes in the dryer. Be right back. Your king is back. So the I low key just put my clothes in the dryer, and for the first time, I've experienced a dryer towel, and not like a super goober towel. Like I'm actually surprised. Putting on a timer. I think it's like an hour and 5 minutes. So hold up, team. There we go. Texture of the wrap threads with compress it on either side is made compact and close by means of the batten, yeah. He declares that philosophy invented the art of the weaver, too, forgetting that philosophers had disappeared by the time this comparatively advanced type of weaving in which the wrap is bound to the beam and then its threads are pattern or parted by the reed. The woof which worked in between with pointed shuttle and pressed home by the broad comb's fretted teeth, has been evolved. He might have thought differently if he had only had the opportunity of seeing the looms of the present day. The end product of which is clothing, which is not going to conceal a thing, clothing which is no help to modesty, let alone the body. He then goes on to farmers and gives an equally eloquent description of how the soil is broken up by the plow for the first time and then gone over again in order that the earth thus loosened may allow the roots more room to develop, and continues with the sowing of the seed and the lifting of the weeds to prevent any stray wild plants spiraling up and ruining the crop. All this too he represents as being the work of philosophers, as if agriculture were not now as ever discovering plenty of new methods of increasing the soil's productivity. See, the only thing I disagree about with this take from him has to be that, bruh, like you low-key have to lock in and know that. But I guess if you just like were to pull out a potato or something and you were to see it, I don't think you need a genius to know, okay, so its roots need to be in the ground. But at the same time, what if you didn't know that and you just put a seed down? It's like there's trial and error. So I wouldn't say it's philosophy. I would kind of give it like put in a different subsection. I mean, would it be philosophy? Honestly, I don't know. But I'm kind of, this is like one of the letters I'm low-key not liking from him. Letter 90 is a flop. I mean, some of his points are good, but like, bro, you have to think. The act of philosophy is thinking, brother. Like, you're saying these people didn't think. Like, of course they thunk. They were thunking. Not content with these occupations, he proceeds to demean the philosopher to the bakery. He tells us how by imitating nature he began producing bread. The grain, he says, is taken into the mouth and crushed by the coming together of the hand surface of the teeth. Anything that escapes is carried back to the teeth again by the tongue, and the grain is finally mixed with saliva to enable it to pass down the lubricated throat with greater facility. On reaching the stomach, where it is cooked in an even heat, it is finally absorbed into the system. Taking this process as a model, someone or other placed one rough stone on top of another in imitation of the teeth, one set of which remains immobile and awaits the action of the other. The grains are then crushed by the friction of the one against the other, and are constantly resubjected to it until they are reduced by the repeated grinding to a fine powder. He then sprinkled the resulting meal with water, and by going on manipulating it, he made it plastic and shaped it into the form of a loaf. This he first baked in a glowing hot earthenware vessel in hot ashes. Later came the gradual discovery of ovens and other devices of the heat of which is controllable at will. Poseidonus was not far off maintaining that the shoemaker's trade as well were invented by philosophers. Now all these things were indeed discovered by the exercise of reason. Okay, wait up. This might actually save him. But not by reason in its perfect form. They were invented by ordinary men, not by philosophers, just as let me add were the vessels we crossed rivers in season, with sails designed to catch the drive of the winds, and rudders at the stern at the altars of the vessel's course in this or that direction, the idea being taken from the fish, who steers with his tail, one slight movement of it in either side being enough to alter the direction of his darting course. Okay, hold up. You might be cooking now. Low-key, you're redeeming yourself kinda good. I'm not even gonna lie. I love Seneca, and this kind of made me like dislike him for a little bit, but he came back with an even better stance. I love you, Seneca. All these things, say Poseidonus, were invented by our philosophers. They were, however, rather too unimportant for him to handle personally, and so he passed them over to the minions among his assistants. What the heck? Not the fact is that this sort of thing was not thought up by anyone other than the people who make them their concern today. We know very well that some have only appeared within living memory, the use, for example, of windows, letting in the full daylight through transparent panes, or bathrooms heated from beneath, with pipes set in the walls in order to diffuse the heat and thus maintain an even temperature at the highest, as well as the lowest room levels. Need I mention the marble with which one temples and even houses are resplendent, or the rounded and polished blocks on which we rest whole colonnades, and building capable of holding large crowds of people, or the shorthand symbols by means of which even a rapidly delivered speech is taken down and the hand is able to keep up with the quickness of the tongue. The invention of system of shorthand is credited to Tiro, Cicero's enslaved secretary, who was later freed. Thus are inventions of the lowest slaves. Philosophy is far above all this. She does not train men's hands. She is the instructress of men's minds. You want to know, do you, what philosophy has unearthed? What philosophy has achieved? It is not the gracefulness of dance movements, nor the variety of sounds produced by horn or flute, as they take in breath and transform it in its passage through or out of the instrument into notes. She does not set about constructing arms or walls or anything of use in war. On the contrary, her voice is for peace, calling all mankind to live in harmony. And she is not, I insist, the manufacturer of equipment for everyday essential purposes. Damn, he loves her, bro. He loves philosophy. Why must you take her responsible for such insignificant things? In her, you see the mistress of the art of life itself. She has indeed authority over other arts, inasmuch as all activities that provide life with its apparatus must also be the servants of that of which life itself is the servant. Philosophy, however, takes her aim the state of happiness. That is the direction of which she opens route and guides us. She shows us what are real and what are only apparent evils. She strips men's minds of empty thinking, bestows a greatness that is solid, and administrates a check to greatness, where it is puffed up and all an empty show. She sees that we are left in no doubt about the difference between what is great and what is bloated. And she imparts a knowledge of the whole of nature, as well as herself. She explains what the gods are and what they are like. Campbell here omits about 17 lines in which Seneca appears to claim philosophy has complete and certain knowledge of the truth in religious and cosmological matters. Three more pages and then we're done with this letter, thank gosh. Anarchists. Anacharsis says Poseidonus discovered the potter's wheel, the rotary motion of which shapes earthware, then mention of the potter's wheel being found in Homer. He would have us think that it is the passage in Homer rather than his story that is spurious. I maintain that Anacharsis was not responsible for this invention. And then even if he was, he discovered it as a philosopher, yes, but not in the capacity as a philosopher, in the same way as philosophers do plenty of things as men without doing them in their capability as philosophers. Suppose, for example, a philosopher happens to be a very fast runner in a race. He will come first by virtue of his ability as a runner, not by the virtue of him being a philosopher. I should like to show Poseidonus some glass blower molding glass by means of his breath into a whole variety of shapes that could hardly be fashioned by the most careful hand. Discoveries that have occurred in the period since the disappearance of the wise man Democritus, he says, is reported to be discoverer of the arc, the idea of which is to bind a curving line of stones set at slightly differing angles from each other with a keystone. This, I say, was quite untrue, for there must have been both bridges and gateways before Democritus' time, and the upper parts of these generally have a curve to them. And it seems to have escaped your memory, Poseidonus, that this same Democritus discovered a means of softening ivory and a means of turning a pebble into an emerald by boiling it, a method employed even today for coloring certain stones. Damn, they frauded stones? Damn. They've rotted stones, guys. This is huge news for the unemployed. That man has discovered and found amendable to the process. These techniques may indeed have been discovered by a philosopher, but not in its capacity as a philosopher. For there are plenty of things which he does, with one sees being done just as well, if not with greater skills and dexterity, by persons totally lacking in wisdom. What has the philosopher investigated? What has the philosopher brought to light? In the first place, truth and nature, having, unlike the rest of the animal world, follow nature with more than just a pair of eyes, things slow to grasp divinity. And secondly, a rule of life in which he has brought it life into line with things universal, and he has taught us not just to recognize but to obey the gods and to accept all that happens exactly as if it were an order from above. He has told us not to listen to false opinions and has weighted and valued everything against standards which are true. He has condemned pleasures, an inseparable element of which is subsequent regret, has commended the good thing which will always satisfy, and for all to see has made the man who has no need of luck the luckiest man of all, and the man who is master of himself the master of all. I've heard this one before. Go to bar. The philosophy I speak of is not the one which takes the citizen out of public life and the gods out of the world we live in, and hands morality over to pleasure, but the philosophy which thinks nothing good unless it is honorable. Honorable, which is incapable of being incited astray by the rewards of men or fortune, and the very pricelessness of which lies in the fact that it cannot be brought at any price. And I do not believe that this philosophy was in existence in the primitive era, in which technical skills were still unknown and useful knowledge was acquired through actual practical experience, or that it dates from an age that was happy, an age in which the bounties of nature were freely available for the use of all without discrimination, before avarice, and luxury split human beings up and got them to abandon partnership for plunder. The men of that era were not philosophers, even if they acted as philosophers are supposed to act in accordance with nature. No other state of man could cause anyone greater admiration if God were to allow man to fashion the things of the earth and allot its people their social customs. That man would not be satisfied with any other system, that the one which tradition says existed in those people's time, among whom no farmers tilled plowed fields merely to mark the line of boundaries dividing land between its owners, was a sin. Men shared their findings in the earth herself, then gave all things more freely unsolicited. Virgil Georgics 1.125-8. I can hear how loose you are in the way you speak. What? What? Brother. What? I'm dead as a child. I'm dead as a child. OMGs. OMGs. I'm dead. Okay, let me continue. Oh, that was from left field. What race of men could be luckier? Share and share alike, they enjoy nature. She saw to each and every man's requirements for survival like a parent. What it all amounted to was undisturbed possessions and resources owned by the community. I can surely call that race of men one of unparalleled riches, is being impossible to find a single pauper in it. Into the ideal state of things, first a vice which is seeking to put aside some article of other and appropriate it to its own use, only succeeded in making everything somebody else's property and reducing its possessions to a fraction of its previously unlimited wealth. Avarice brought in property by covering a lot of possessions, losing all that is had. This is why, although it may endeavor to make good its losses, may acquire estate after estate by buying out and forcing out its neighbors in large country properties of the dimensions of whole provinces. Speak of owning some property when it can go on a long tour overseas without once stepping off its own land. There is no extension of our boundaries that can bring us back to our starting point. When we have done everything within our power, we shall possess a great deal. But we once possessed the world, the earth herself, until it was more productive, her yields being more than ample for the needs of people who did not rate each other with any of nature's products. Men found as much pleasure in showing others what they had discovered as they did in discovering it. No one can outdo or be outdone by any other. All was equally divided among people living in complete harmony. The stronger had not yet started laying hands on the weaker. The avaricious people had not yet started hiding things away to be hoarded for his own private use. So, shutting the next man off from a actual necessity of life, each cared as much about the other as about himself. Weapons were unused, hands still unstained with human blood had directed their hostility exclusively against wild beasts. Protected from the sun in some thick wood, living in some very ordinary shelter, under a covering of leaves, preserving them from the rigorous of winter. On the rain, those people passed tranquil nights, with never a sigh. We in our crimson luxury toss and turn with worry, stabbed by needling cares, with soft sleep. The hard earth gave those people. They had not carved or paneled ceilings hanging over them. They lay out in the open, with the stars slipping past above them, and the firmament slightly conveying onward the mighty work of creation as it was carried headlong below the horizon in the magnificent pageant of the night sky. And they had clear views by day, as well as by night, of the loveliest of mansions, enjoying the pleasures of which constellations falling away from the zenith and others rising again from one of sight beneath the horizon. Surely it was a joy to roam the earth with marvelous scattered so widely around one. You now by contrast go pale at every noise your house makes, and if there is a creaking sound, you run away along your fire's scot. Bro, that's funny. What a silly goose. Passagens in alarm. Those people had no mansions on the scale of towns, fresh air, and the untrammeled breezes of the open spaces. The unoppressive shade of tree or rock, springs of crystal clarity, streams which chose their own course, streams unsullied by the work of man, by pipes or any other interference with their natural channels. Meadows whose beauty owed nothing to man's art. That was the environment around their dwelling places in the countryside. Dwelling places give a simple countryman's finish. This was a home in conformity with nature, a home in which one enjoyed living, and which occasioned neither fear of it nor fears for it. Whereas nowadays, our own homes count for a large part of our feeling of insecurity. That's true. That's a bar. I'm saving that. But however wonderful the guileless the life they led, they were not wise men. This is the title that has come to be reserved for the highest of all achievements. All the same, I showed to be the last to deny that they were men of exalted spirit, only one step removed, so to speak. What are you even doing? Bro, I'm reading and then I'm gonna play Dead by Daylight. For the gods, there can be no doubts that before this earth was worn out, it produced a better type of offspring. But though they were all possessed a character more robust than that of today, and one with a greater aptitude for hard work is equally true, for that their personalities fell short of genuine perfection, for nature does not give a man's virtue, the process of becoming a good man in an art. Certainly they did not go in search of gold or silver or the various crystalline stones to be found in the nethermost dregs of the earth. They were still merciful even to dumb animals. Man was far and away. Ew, reading next thing you're gonna tell us is that I am employed, but I'm gonna stream employment. I'm gonna stream employment, but I'm having a talk with my employer today. I can't tell y'all what I do yet, but I am employed, sadly. From killing, but it's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. From killing man, not out of fear of provocation, but simply for entertainment. They had yet to wear embroidered clothing, and had yet to have gold woven into robes, or even mine it. But the fact remains that their innocence was due to ignorance and nothing else. And there is a world of difference between, on the one hand, choosing not to do what is wrong, and on the other hand, not knowing how to do it in the first place. They lack the cardinal virtues of justice, moral insight, self-control, and courage. There were corresponding qualities in each case not unlike these that had a place in the primitive lives, but virtue only comes to a character which has been thoroughly schooled and trained and brought to a pitch of perfection by unrelenting practice. We are born for it, but not with it, and even in the best of people, until you cultivate it, there is only the material for virtue, not virtue itself. Hi guys. Hey, we're gonna start DVD. We are going to start the Dead by Daylight. Let's go see. Where's gaming? There we go. Who's hyper?